days at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time. We're here with all the latest news and some interesting storylines and interesting players surrounding the 49ers. So we get all into it, Alex, and I'm looking forward to this conversation.
Always looking forward to this conversation. We're even further away from Sunday, which is just the best news. It's the best news. It's the greatest thing that could possibly happen for this team. So look, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Become the newest member of the Cutback crew. And look, let's get into some news, right? Some information that's coming out there through the wire about the 49ers. And Buster Skrine, not Skrine, not Screeny, not Screen, is looking like he's going to become a San Francisco 49er. That's what all reports are indicating. Who knows? By the time this goes up, he may have already been signed to this team. K'Wan Williams going to be missing a few weeks per Kyle Shanahan yesterday in his presser. Definitely going out and making a move at the cornerback position. Maybe not the name that 49ers fans was hoping was going to be the guy that is being talked about, but definitely a veteran presence that they're bringing in and looking at.
Yeah, you had to do something. You have K'Wan Williams going down the slot, and I think that's the key, right? You need somebody that can play in the slot. You're expecting a name for the outside as well, and this is not that name. But this is a guy that you can count on. I think some people were expecting it to be Jamar Taylor. I really do. I think some people thought that they would bring him in because he had a run with the team last year, but they went with Skrine. And Buster Skrine has some familiarity with Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan has seen him play in person. They were both at Cleveland at the same time. So in 2014, he's there at Cleveland. And Skrine's not a guy that hasn't played football games. I mean, he's a guy that started football games and started entire seasons. He's proven to stay pretty much healthy a lot, too, which is something that you're looking for as the 49ers. For that 2014 season in Cleveland, he had 4 interceptions, which is impressive. That is something that you're looking for out of that position. Somebody that understands the ins and outs of playing defense and coverage and what needs to happen, because you do have to feel comfortable and some familiarity playing in the slot. It is different because these receivers can go inside or outside. There's a lot more flexibility. When you're playing on the outside, you can play them a different way. So you can use the sideline as an extra defender, or you can completely play outside and make them go inside. It's just it's a different element. It's a different animal completely. So playing in the slot is a definite art and a skill that has to be learned. And this is a guy that knows how to do it. So it makes sense to me. At first, when I saw the headline, I was like, okay, who is this guy? But after looking into it a little bit more, it makes more sense now. So the 49ers are insulating themselves on the inside in that nickel corner position. And maybe they still need to address the outside. We'll see what happens with Norman. But they're definitely not just resting. They're going ahead and making sure they bring guys in. Is he going to be the long-term answer? Probably not. You're just trying to bridge the gap until you get K'Wan back. But at least they're doing a good job of trying to bring guys in.
Correct. And I know 49ers fans are like, all they're doing really, and is they're just going out and signing a bunch of no-name, low-budget guys. Well, you don't have all of the cap space in the world. You may want to make a big trade still coming up. So if you start bringing in guys and paying them a lot of money, it's going to be very hard to do that. I'm okay with this because it's bridging, right? Like you said, it's bridging the gap. And we talked about this. The identity right now is going to shift a little bit. It's going to change. What this team wants to do and what this team's trying to do this year is not like previous years. Right now, there's a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the football, and that makes it hard for your defense to be the defense we all want it and expect it to be. Not having Dre Greenlaw out there kind of sucks. Not having Jason Verrett out there really sucks. Now not having K'Wan Williams, it's just awful. It's just not what you're looking for. So 49ers fans kind of got to wrap your head around this a little bit. This defense isn't going to be necessarily the elite level defense that we want it and hope it can be all season long. It's just not healthy enough right now to be that. So the 49ers are going to have to rely on the offense. The offense is going to need to step it up and get it cleaned up because second halves of games right now looks great. First halves of games, not so much other than the Detroit game. But that was Detroit early in the season, and Detroit's getting better. But at the end of the day, Buster Skrine is a guy who's played a lot of. You said it. He started a lot of games. 92 games in his career. So this guy has experience. He's done it before. He's played for Kyle Shanahan before. He knows what the expectation level is. Pretty sure he watches football. going to say he watches football. He knows what the 49ers are about, so he knows what he's coming into in this situation and what the expectation level and the pressure is going to be like. Granted, he hasn't played for a lot of successful teams in the NFL, but he has played a lot of games. He understands what it takes to be an NFL caliber corner, and we only need him for a couple of weeks, Ant. Just a couple of weeks. We just got to get to the bye. As soon as we get to the bye, a lot of questions get answered.
And what they've done, you see the way that they're handling this right now, is they're going out and getting veteran guys that play the cornerback position that they can bring in and that know what to do when they're playing football, right? They don't have to coach them up. They're not bringing in young guys. They're bringing in guys they know can play football, that can be aggressive and attack, especially against the run game as well. So this makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, yes, they added Norman, they've added Kirkpatrick, and now add Skrine. To me, they're adding guys that they know that they can count on week in and week out. Norman's is unfortunate. He gets hurt on the play where he punches the ball out. What a great play punching the ball out. I know the 49ers don't get the ball, but, I mean, he's giving up his body, and that's what he's about. And I think that is an attitude that can rub off, right? That is something that's great. Norman coming back from that will show the other players, like, hey, he's willing to give his body for this, and he was playing really good football. So their evaluation process on these guys that they're bringing in has been solid so far. They bring in Norman, and Norman's showing out. So I'm going to trust them with Skrine. I'm gonna see how he does, because I do believe they needed to address that interior cornerback position, that nickel corner, because I didn't see a lot of comfortability, really, the way to say it, from Deommodore Lenoir. He just didn't look comfortable playing in that role, and that's just because it takes time. It's a little bit of a different animal, and you have to get used to it. And the other option is Dante Johnson, and so I think you would feel a lot more comfortable with Skrine in there than Dante Johnson. I think everyone realizes that right now. But in the same regard, Dante Johnson didn't look horrible at Green Bay, so that's a good sign as well. So we'll see where everyone see how it plays out. But it's going to be interesting. I think this week's going to be interesting. And there's a lot of interesting things going on, and one of those things is the 49ers didn't trade for C.J. Henderson, Alex. And a lot of people were calling for the trade for C.J. Henderson. C.J. Henderson, gets traded to Carolina, and it's, a pretty hefty price, I think, that gets paid there.
Yeah. You can say that again. And I'm trying to pull up the exact things now because I know for a fact a 3rd round pick was given up in this deal.
I believe it was a 3rd and a 5th and the tight end.
So here it is right here. Carolina sent tight end Dan Arnold a 3rd round pick for Jacksonville's. So the 5th round pick also, the 5th round pick was, yes, that was dealt as well as a pick swap, I believe. For former Jacksonville 1st round pick C.J. Henderson and a 5th rounder. So they sent a tight end, not their starting tight end, but their number 2 tight end, a 3rd and a 5th in order to get a 2020 former first round pick in a C.J. Henderson. That's a lot. That's a lot for a guy that an organization in Jacksonville is giving up on 1 year into basically 2nd year in the league. I saw a lot of 49ers fans and John Lynch couldn't have made this trade. He could have. He could have made this trade. We could have given up Ross Dwelley a 3rd and a 5th, but we would have been rolling then into the next year's draft without Ross Dwelley. You're looking at Charlie Warner as being the guy. You've already released, Jordan Matthews from your practice squad, so you're going to significantly weaken your tight end position, as well as roll into the next draft with a 2nd round pick, a 4th round pick, and a 6th round pick. What? In a year where you got a lot of guys and a lot of money, you're going to have a lot of money coming free. Maybe you get some draft capital back trading Jimmy Garoppolo. But, you're limited going into the draft, and you don't know what positions of need that you now need. Also, cornerback room, kind of depleted. A little bit depleted. Hey, 49ers fans, how would it feel next year to go into the draft and draft a corner in the 2nd and draft a corner in the 3rd? I think everyone would feel a lot better about the cornerback room.
I think I would feel a lot more comfortable if they drafted a corner in the 5th.
Also true, which you can't do if you make this trade.
Yeah.
So my point is that C.J. Henderson hasn't done a whole lot other than be a 1st round pick in the league. And fans sometimes get a little bit too caught up in that. Well, he's got tons of talent. He's a former 1st round pick.
He does.
He is. He does have a bunch of talent, but talent is just that. It's talent, and unless it translates, talent doesn't do a whole lot for you on the field if it can't get the job done and can't execute. There's a reason why Jacksonville's moving off of him so quickly. They obviously don't feel he can get it done in their scheme and what they want to accomplish. Yeah. Carolina thinks they can maybe do something with it, so they're willing to part with that because they're Carolina is one of those teams that's finding themselves in a position they didn't think they were going to be in. You made the move for Sam Darnold. You weren't really sure what you were getting. You're kind of in the middle of a rebuild. You know you have somewhat of a talented defense, and you got some weapons on offense, so let's make this move for Darnold and see what pays out. Maybe we end up being an 800 team, and we're a couple pieces away, and we can make a play next year. Well, they're undefeated. Sam Darnold looks like the Sam Darnold everyone thought he was going to be coming out of the draft, and your defense is playing lights out. So they're going to start making moves to make sure that they can contend and compete the rest of the season. That's fine. They also have the cap space to be able to do those types of things. The 49ers, all those things are true for us. We're trying to compete. We're trying to contend. We're trying to insulate ourselves, but we don't necessarily have the same amount of cap space. So in order to make those moves, you're asking to give up a lot of that future to bank on a guy to come in and play right away. If C.J. Henderson was just coming in for additional depth, that's one thing. But if you're making that move for C.J. Henderson, you're hoping he can come in and step in and play day one.
No, you're expecting him to come in and play day one. Yeah, 100%. The one thing with C.J. Henderson is breaking him down in last year's draft and watching a lot of film is he plays light. He doesn't play physical. And when you're talking about the receivers that the 49ers have to go against in the NFC West, a lot of these guys play physical, whether that's DK or, D-Hop. They'll play with you at the point of attack. Now, Henderson is extremely athletic. That is one thing he's very good at. But does he fit the zone scheme of the 49ers? That's a bigger question because DeMeco Ryans has proven that he's going to run more zone than he's going to run man. He's going to run man in third down. I mean, that's pretty much what he's been doing across the board. So Henderson's athletic that way and talented. The question is, do you give up that much capital, draft capital, and really handcuff your team in the future? If you believe that this guy could be a staple in your defense for the next 10 years, yeah, you make the move. I don't even think you think twice about it because then you're set and ready to go. I don't believe that they thought that because Henderson would have been someone that would have been on the radar last year in the draft. They would have very good reports on him. They would know exactly what they needed to do with him. Plus, you take into account that Carolina, you're not going to win a bidding war with Carolina because Carolina has more assets to give up. Carolina is a team that's had a lot of draft capital over the last few years. And so they're built up and they're ready to go. And they're making moves and they know what they need to do to insulate their team and make sure their team is ready to go. So the 49ers would have gotten a bidding war with a team that they can't possibly win against. Just don't do it. So I like the way that they're approaching this, going after more low cost-effective, veteran players that understand the ins and outs of football and ins and outs of coverage and defense, and you roll with it. Are they going to be as athletic as a C.J. Henderson? No. But we do know what they're about. And C.J. Henderson is a question mark, and we don't need to add any more question marks to an already question mark-filled defense.
49ers fans, this is for everybody here. Everyone's been frustrated with, the targets, did Dante Johnson on the outside, the big play to Devontae Adams, all those things. Henderson's quarterback passer rating against Henderson in 2020, okay, in 8 games. He only played 8, started 8 games, played 8 games. 110 passer rating. In 2021 through 2 games, 128.5.
Impressive.
Really bad. It's not good. He's not doing a great job of covering in space.
Wait, so you're telling me over 100 is not good?
Yeah, over 100 is usually typically a bad thing. Usually want that thing. If you're a corner, ideally, right? Yeah. Great corners, 60, 70%. It's a 60, 70 range.
Well, I think Diamondo Lenore was chilling in the 60s, I believe.
Playing pretty good.
Yeah.
And that's despite him giving up a couple of big plays. Despite that, he's still chilling in the 60s and the 70s.
Well, he's a rookie, right? That's been thrusted out there. Correct. I think we all agree that he's got a lot of talent.
He's got a ton of talent, right? But I would say Diamondo Lenore, a lot of talent, 5th round pick, has definitely put up and pressed in ways that a guy like C.J. Henderson has not done at all, period.
No, not even close.
Not even anywhere near close. So I like them not making this move. And again, that hurts me to say because he's a Florida guy. He played at the University of Florida. I wasn't overly impressed with him at the University of Florida. I'm not overly impressed with him now, in the NFL. It is what it is. C.J. Henderson, though, good on him. He's going to go to a better situation. Jacksonville right now, so maybe that's what he needs, a change of scenery, new scheme, all those things can help.
His play is going to get better.
I think so. But we go from that trade rumor or that trade situation not happening, 49ers fans being upset, to now a couple other names getting thrown out there. Marlon Mack is the big one. Him and the Colts have agreed to part ways, right? They've agreed to mutually seek out trade options and opportunities. The 49ers are depleted at the running back room, Ant. Does this make sense?
From a talent aspect, absolutely, because you would thrust Marlon Mack into your offense. I mean, this is a guy that's proven that he can rush for 1,000 yards. So we know if somebody proves they can rush for 1,000 yards, then for Kyle Shanahan, they have the possibility to go for 1,500 or more. That is just what happens. But once again, you're talking about draft capital. What are you going to have to give up to get this guy? And the fact that I just said that he rushed for 1,000 yards before means that he's going to have some value attached to his name.
Some, yes.
And I don't know if the 49ers are willing to give up that, especially because they did give up so much to go up and get Trey Lance. They don't really have the draft capital over the next 2 drafts to go ahead and willy-nilly hand out draft picks to bring players in. So I don't know if this is a possibility. I would think not, because you're really just trying to bridge the gap. You got to get through these next 2 games. You can get back Jeff Wilson Jr. You get back JaMychal Hasty. I think right now what you're looking for is a Band-Aid, and I don't think Marlon Mack is a Band-Aid. I think he is a sledgehammer, and there's a big difference between the two. And I think that you want to go ahead and roll with what you got. I think in a perfect world, 49ers had a lot of draft capital. This would be a no-brainer. You bring in a player like this that could take over and change the way that your offense is ran, because I think he would be dynamic in Kyle Shanahan's offense. But this isn't a perfect world, and there are situations and things that go into this. So you're really just trying to get through, and you're trying to roll with the young guys. But if at some point John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan believe that Marlon Mack, and Bobby Turner will, of course, look at the film, believe that Marlon Mack would be a guy that could win them extra football games this year and ultimately put them in a position to win a championship, they will go after it and they will make that move. I just don't think they actually will, because I think John Lynch is keeping those draft picks in his back pocket, and he's not willing to let go of them as of right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I wanted to bring this up because I just saw this scrolling through the Twitter timeline here. John Chapman, our boy, he's been talking about this a little bit. Kevin Givens, straight up for Marlon Mack, who says no if that was a possibility.
Who says no?
Yes.
I don't say no, because I know that there is a lot of guys that we have on this defensive line, right? We're still going to have Jordan Willis coming back. They're going to have to make room here pretty soon. The question is, would the Colts want Kevin Givens in this deal? You would be, if you're the 49ers, you're taking a guy that was an undrafted free agent that you've really worked with and created and built up, and moving him for a nice piece in Mac. I would do that 100%, 1,000 times. The question is, can the Colts actually go ahead and make that move? Because you would think they're going to want something more. They're going to want a better player, like a DJ Jones, for instance, than a Kevin Givens. If it's Kevin Givens, I bet you John Lynch right now would already make the move.
I mean, it would make sense. It's an undrafted guy. You have a lot of depth there at that spot. And maybe that's part of the reason why the 49ers held on to as many guys, as they knew at some point in time, right? Injuries going to pile up. Something's going to happen. We're going to need to make a move, and we can take one of these 12 dudes and deal them off. You would think, though, that Kevin Givens wouldn't be enough, right? His rookie season in 2018, he rushes for 908 yards.
But could we throw Kevin Givens in like a 2023 7th, or with an escalator in it? Could we do something like that?
I'd be fine with that.
Yeah.
If you're going to take a late round draft pick, throw some escalator stuff in there and add Kevin Givens to the mix, I think it makes sense. And I apologize. That was his second year in the league. Second year in the league, he rushed for 908 yards. Third year in the league, he goes for 1,000, the year you're talking about. But he does the Achilles injury at the end. He comes in for a little bit and has a little bit of an injury there. 2019 was I think he had a shoulder or a knee. Then 2020, the Achilles happens, and now 2021, he's coming off of an Achilles injury. He's 21. He's 25 years old.
Yeah.
He's still a young man. He might have something left in the tank. If you can make this deal and make this move without having to give up a lot of draft capital, late pick with an escalator, and you can part ways with a Kevin Givens, if that's a legitimate possibility, it's kind of hard not to want to make that kind of move. It really is, because you are getting immediate value, an upgrade, or not necessarily an upgrade in value, but definitely an improved value from a guy like Marlon Mack from Kevin Givens. Kevin Givens, who was not a guy drafted very high, wasn't a guy even looked at by most teams, and what you've been able to do with him, he gives you depth at that running back room. He's gonna have to come in and learn a little bit of the system and the scheme and the terminology. But if Kyle Shanahan's really worried about Trey Sherman, do you have to worry about Marlon Mack? I don't think you have to. Not the same level that Trey Sherman does.
No. This is a proven commodity.
Correct. So this immediately takes some of the burden the burden and the weight off of Elijah Mitchell's shoulders of having to carry this backfield as a rookie for the whole season, or at least until Jeff Wilson gets back. You have a nice little core there with Mack, Elijah Mitchell, and when Jeff Wilson gets back, Jeff Wilson. Is it doable, though? Is it possible? I don't know. that seems like a huge win of a trade for San Francisco and not that much of a win for the Indianapolis Colts.
Yeah, there's two things. Number one, the Colts have put this out there, right? So that weakens their stance a little bit. The only problem is they know the 49ers are running back needy. So what you have is two guys who have weakened, two teams that have weakened their stance because one is needy and one has a commodity that someone wants, but they've put it out there that they have a commodity. So this is kind of an interesting thing where you don't know who's going to be able to push who, or even if it's in their wheelhouse, because right now the way the 49ers are playing it is they're only dressing three running backs for games and then Trenton Cannon, because Trenton Cannon is being dynamic in the return game, and we saw what he did against Green Bay. So you wonder if the 49ers are even willing to do that because they have these other guys already, right? They already have Sherman, they have Elijah Mitchell, they have JaMychal Hasty, who's going to be coming back in a few weeks, and then they are going to have Jeff Wilson Jr. You're already going to have four guys. You're already talking about Trey Sermon being healthy scratches, so that way, Trenton Cannon can be your last guy. So I don't know if there's room in the running back room here in a few weeks. So it's one of those things where, are we making that move right now, knowing that in a few weeks we're going to have an overload and we're going to have to make a roster move somehow? To me, it seems like the 49ers would try to wait it out, get their guys healthy. If another injury happened, I could see them pouncing on this. Or if Elijah Mitchell wasn't coming back in the next, 3 to 6 weeks, whatever that is. But right now, I don't know. I mean, that's a good proposition. It's a good thought. I just don't know if the Colts would actually be able to make that go for it. And I don't know if the 49ers are ready to go ahead and make a big splash this early in the season.
It's a lot, man. It's a lot to want to make that move. You do have long-term hope for the 49ers running back room with Jeff Wilson returning at some point in time, JaMychal Hasty coming back at some point in time, Elijah Mitchell getting healthy, hopefully here in the near future, right? Sooner rather than later. So yeah, if you make that move, it's almost like you're making this move knowing that eventually down the road you're going to have to make an even tougher decision in the running back room. I think they do this if they don't believe in Trey Sermon at all whatsoever. If Kyle thinks, this is not something that can happen here for the next 3 weeks, 2 to 3, 4 weeks, we can't roll with this guy. Then they would make that move just to make sure they shore themselves up.
Would somebody be willing to make a move that involved Trey Sermon?
Maybe. But are the Colts that team? I don't think so. I don't think so. You got Nyheim Hines. You have Jonathan Taylor. I mean, what does Trey Sermon add to that backfield that those two don't already do for you?
Well, he's insurance in case one of them get hurt because he's a similar player to what they have.
That's true.
Similar running style, similar build.
True.
But I don't know if that's even a case. To be honest with you, I haven't thought enough about it to go ahead and give an educated, thing about it. To me, it was more out there than it appears, that some people believe it is. I mean, I know people are already writing about this and stuff. I don't think the 49ers are ready to make a splash yet. Not in a trade market.
No, I would agree with you there. I don't think that's the case yet. Not in the trade market, and that's really the only name that's out there that's really being tossed or linked here to San Francisco for running back right now. But we need to talk about this Richard Sherman situation and what's going on with this, because he has his workout. He's going down to Tampa. Cutback crew faithful in the chat talking about it. We need to stop talking about Richard Sherman. He's going to Tampa. He's signing with Tampa. He might. He very well might. The 49ers, it doesn't seem like they've picked up the phone and even called, which is a little interesting.
Well, I think that they both said they had contact. Shanahan and John Lynch have had contact.
Yes, they've had contact before, yes.
I think that they are, according to John Lynch, comfortable with their situation at corner, which is a little surprising to me. Now, watching Norman on film, I understand why they're comfortable with him. I really do. And if Emmanuel Mosley is healthy, he only gave up 3 catches on Sunday night. I mean, he had a very good performance. So Richard Sherman would be coming in, and is he going to start over Josh Norman? If you're ready to make that move, then you do it. But right now, if Norman is still a guy that you can count on, it kind of seems like a lateral move because they're very similar players at this stage in their career. You got Norman, who's a little bit better in man coverage than Richard Sherman, but both of them are good in zone. Sherman has a leg up as far as the intelligence and being able to recognize route combinations and schemes and stuff like that. But right now Norman's proven from how he played against Devontae Adams that he's better than Sherman was last year as far as playing against Devontae Adams. So I think that it would be a lateral move right now. I think if Norman was out for a considerable amount of time, then you're talking about Sherman versus Drake Kirkpatrick. You might have a better argument to bring Richard Sherman in. But before they brought Kirkpatrick in, that's when I thought it was a possibility. Now I'm not so sure. So this might not be a thing. I mean, this might be us pushing a button that we don't need to push yet. And the 49ers are sitting there saying, you know what, let's just wait. If Richard moves on, we'll make other accommodations. But it doesn't seem like that is a big thing, because you would think that this would already be a done deal if the 49ers really wanted it.
I agree with you there. I feel it would have been a done deal, because I feel he would have made the decision to come here. He knows what this team is. He knows what this roster is. He knows what he can do in the system. He's played for and with D'Amico Ryans in the coaching room before. It would just make sense that this would be the move he would want to make. Close to where his home is now. He doesn't have to uproot the family too much. They can stay there. He can still fly back on the weekend, on weekends and bye weeks and things of that nature. He can get done with the game, fly home Sunday, fly home Sunday night, see his family Monday, Tuesday, and then come back in and get to work. They haven't done it, and it doesn't look like they're going to. So yeah, cutback crew, faithful. It might be time to move on from Richard Sherman as a possibility for this team, and that's okay, especially if Josh Norman's healthy. Josh Norman's healthy; it's going to be fine. I'm really looking forward to breaking down this All-22 film and seeing him early in this game and how he looked, and just looking at the defense and seeing what was going on and what the game plan was and what changed once he went down and once he went out. It's never easy dealing with the injuries and guys leaving and guys moving out, but the 49ers are going to find a way to adjust. They're going to find a way to overcome. They almost did Sunday. It was really close. So we'll see what happens there with that and just the route that goes. But Kyle Shanahan talked about regrets, and he talked about some regrets he had in the game, specifically that 3rd and 1 from midfield. 3rd and 1 and then the 4th and 1.
Okay.
He specifically talked about how the 3rd and 1.
Sorry, I went full Tom Brady.
You went full Tom Brady, but you weren't wrong, because the 4th and 1 was the call. He decided to punt. The 3rd and 1 play, though, where Mack snaps the ball early, Kyle talks about how the D-line for the Packers is yapping and saying some things and moving around a bit, and that's what forces Mack to snap a little bit earlier than he wanted to. Trey Sherman, the run, not a great run. They kind of bust right through and blow the play up. But Shanahan thought it was a bigger loss and thought they were about 1.5 yards away instead of just a yard. And so he didn't want to go with the eventual 4th down play they ran later, where Trey Lance is in and Kyle Juszczyk comes in and motions, does that little fullback quarterback sneak action. That was the play that was going to be called there if they didn't get it, and it was close. But Kyle says he regrets it. He wishes he would have stuck with his gut and done the thing he needed to do. Coaches being able to acknowledge and look at things within the game and point out when they made mistakes or areas where they feel that, hey, I should have just trusted my gut or trusted my team and trusted my guys. We got ourselves into the situation I want. I was telling myself we had 2 downs there and I talked myself out of it. I like that. I like that from a coach who's able to go back, look at the film, reevaluate, reassess, and then be like, I got to do that different.
I'm going to let everyone in on something. Every single coach looks at every single situation in the game and wonders if they made the right move. Whether it was, something that was pivotal in the game or not. Every single play caller especially. So Kyle Shanahan didn't look at the film. He didn't have to look at the film, because he knew exactly what he wanted to do. He knew that he should have went for it, and it didn't work out. And a lot of times what makes it worse is the result, right? Because he punted, Aaron Rodgers took the team down the field and scored a touchdown, and that changed the way the game, looked.
Yep.
Because 10-3, 10-7 sounds a lot different than 17-7 at halftime. So it was a big decision. But yeah, play callers do that all the time. Like, man, if I would have just done this, or if I would have done that, it could have completely changed the game. That's 100%. I don't think there was a single loss I had as a coach where I didn't look back at least one decision, usually multiple decisions in the game. Is like, man, if I would have just done this. Hindsight is 20/20. And it's one of those things where you live and you learn, and then the next time you go for it. And sometimes you have to be aggressive. And I think Kyle Shanahan is learning that he needs to be more aggressive with this football team and take more chances. And I think that's what he's going to do, because he's been conservative over the last couple of years, and he's really counted on his defense. And I think now he's going to have to be more aggressive and count on his offense to carry some of that load and burden, and some of that burden for the football team. So it's going to be interesting to see how he handles it. But I do like the transparency, But every single head coach, Alex, and you know this, is going to look after a game and say, you know what, this is on me. This is my fault. You saw Fred Warner, the team captain, the way that he responded is like, I've got to be better. I've got to make plays for my football team. That is how you expect guys to handle situations, and that's why I have a lot of faith in this football team, because they're handling it the right way, all the way from the top, right? Coach all the way to player is translating the same thought process. And that's what you need, and that's why a team's not going to get shook by a loss, but respond in a big way.
Yes, Fred Warner making that statement. I'm supposed to be. I'm a captain. I'm a guy this team is supposed to rely on. I got to start making big. And you literally, as a 49er fan, you can flash back to the game and think of 2 moments where he was literally inches away from getting his hand on the football that would have completely destroyed any hope the Packers had of, finalizing that last drive or putting up, converting on 3rd and longs. It's not on Fred, but Fred's also not wrong, right? If Fred makes those plays, that game goes different. Just like if, Bosa makes some more plays, just like if Jimmy doesn't make the mistakes that he makes, just like if there's not drops in the end zone, things of that nature. If certain things don't go a certain way, that game plays out completely differently in its entirety, top to bottom. Coaching staff making certain decisions, certain coverages, right? Kyle Shanahan abandoning play calls and deciding to punt at midfield when everyone wants you to go for it and you wanted to go for it. All of those things have an impact. And the fact that top to bottom, like you said, Ant, this organization, all of them are on the same page. Hey, it's on me. Hey, I got to be better. Hey, I did these things. Not, I made that mistake, but there's all these other times where, no, you don't hear that coming from anybody. There's no buts. There's all me. What mistakes, what things have I done? What have I done wrong? How did I contribute to this? And how can I fix that going forward? That's a team that's eyes on the prize and understands, number one, hey, we're human, not perfect. We're going to make mistakes. But number two, how can we fix them? How can we fix them so that way the next time we make mistakes, it's not the same mistake? Because that's a sign of a bad team. That's a sign of a team that doesn't get it. When you roll in, week out, game in, game out, and make the same mistakes, you got problems. The good news for the 49ers is week 2, the offense stagnating, you may be sitting there going, well, it's the same mistakes. What happened in week 3? But it was different, right? Run game wasn't working in week 2. We were trying to run the football. It wasn't there. And stymied the offense, and we dropped passes. Week 3, that was not what was going on. It wasn't the run game that wasn't getting things going. It was pressure up the middle, pressure on the quarterback, dropped passes, just things not going the way you want them to go. Quarterback not putting the ball on target at times as well. Turnovers on the one after a big stop, a big turnover, not too long after that. Those are the things that kept this offense from clicking and doing the things it needs to do. Similar result, but a different path to get there. Okay, A didn't work, B didn't work. We clean those things up, and now we see what week 4 has in store for us.
It's going to be different because there is a different personnel across the field. Everything changes. Game plan changes. And, I've seen a lot of people talking about Kyle Shanahan's, overall game plan and how he attacks on offense. And one of the big things people have to realize is taking advantage of a defense's weaknesses is part of the plan. But you can only do so much with the talent that you have. If you don't have the talent to take advantage of those weaknesses, then you have to figure out a way just to manufacture things. And that's what we were worried about going into this game. We were worried that the running game was going to be so bad without having the running backs that they were going to have to try to manufacture yards, and they did. And those turned into losses because some of these plays didn't work. Whether they were, run plays with Deebo Samuel and stuff like that, they just weren't there. So unfortunately, just because you know what you need to do to beat another team doesn't mean you can actually do it. Either you don't have the personnel or you're just not able to execute those plays. So they gave it a whirl. They tried it. It didn't work. Now they know what defenses are trying to do too. So now they can go in there and attack it. I only look for Kyle Shanahan to get better as far as planning and figuring out what he needs to do. And I think you're going to see the offense, take an uptick. I think they're not going to sit on this, and they're going to make some changes and have some things go their way. But also it's going to help a lot if they can get this run game going. And one of those ways they can get it going is by getting running backs on the field that can make plays. And Sherman didn't prove to do that consistently. He had some flashes that looked pretty good. But I think some of the things they've said about him are real, and we thought so coming out of the draft, that he's not a one-cut-and-go guy. And that's what Kyle Shanahan's looking for in his system. And this guy's not a normal fit. The only thing I can think is that Bobby Turner thinks he can turn him into one of those guys. And if he can, then he's going to pay dividends down the road. But that's not right now. That's the same with Aaron Banks, right? Dividends down the road. When you're drafting these guys in the draft, you're not always expecting them to make an instant impact. What you're expecting them to do is help your team win in a few years. That's what they're building towards. So hopefully they can get it done. But we're going to have to figure out something with this running game. I don't know if that's Marlon Mack or what that is. And if not, then they got to figure it out.
It'll be interesting indeed, and we'll see what happens with all of this. All of it's playing out sometimes in the 49ers' favor, sometimes not. But you know what? They're making the right moves. They're doing the things that they need to do, and hopefully it goes better in our direction going forward.
Yeah, 100%. I think that there are going to be things going better. Because you can only learn from things like this. It doesn't matter if you win or lose. You're going to learn from the mistakes that you made in the game. But that's how you get better. And the way that they're responding is the right way to respond. If you were seeing a lot of anger and a lot of, stuff like that, then you would think that, okay, this team is not learning. They're just getting mad about those mistakes. But when you take an approach like I can be better, And I'll tell you right now, the things that Fred Warner and them are doing by putting it on their shoulders, there's going to be players around them like, wait, Fred shouldn't have this on him. I need to be better. And what they'll do is they'll raise their game around him because they'll want to help lift him up because they understand what he's doing and shouldering the burden. It's going to bring the team closer together. So I'm excited about the direction of the team. Even though we're coming out of a loss, I'm excited about it. I think if they take care of Seattle, they'll be right back on track, and Seattle will be in a world of hurt at 1-3.
That's right, Ant.
Yeah.
That's right. It was funny. I got done with my week 3 playthrough, Niners Packers. I'm not going to spoil anything. If you want to watch that, and you're not over on Patreon, head over to Patreon. You can see if I get my revenge on Green Bay for what happened in week 3. But at the end of that Green Bay game on Madden gives me a prompt. You got a star player who's down. We're 3-0. We're 2-1. We're whatever our record is. What do they have to be down for? Trent Williams wants to retire in Madden, Matt. And he wants to retire.
Wow.
I have to try and convince him out of it.
Wow.
I know.
Yeah.
And it's funny because the prompt says afterwards, you make my choice, make my decision, and it tells me, you know what cures downness? Winning. Because winning cures all. You're right about one thing, Madden. Winning does cure all. 49ers fans freaking out. 49ers not freaking out, but obviously distraught, down over what just happened. Didn't expect that to happen. They think they're better and they can be better. Winning cures everything. A win here in week 4 against Seattle, against the Sea Chickens, against a heated rival, will silence a lot of things in 49ers land.
I feel like you're right back on track.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, you want to go 3-0. You want to win every single football game, but you can't win every football game. And so when you have losses like this, the main thing is don't lose the next one. You want to have these losses come between long stretches of victories. So if the 49ers are winning more than they're losing, that's the key. And so just not back-to-back losses. They need to respond. They need to win these 2 divisional games. And if they do, I think everyone's going to feel comfortable with where they're sitting and where they're at as a football team. And I look forward to the adjustments because I'm telling you right now, everyone's being a little hypercritical on these coaches and the decisions that they're making. These guys are really good coaches. They're going to figure this thing out. They're masking some issues right now, and they're playing with the one arm tied behind their back. But I still count on my guys. I like these guys that we have as coordinators and as head coach and stuff. But they can get it done even with one arm behind their back. They're still dangerous. They still have a punching chance to win. So I'm going to take that every single day of the week.
Every day of the week. Cutback crew, let us know what you think about the breakdown, about Buster Skrine, about these trade rumors, Richard Sherman's situation, Kyle Shanahan regretting some things. Any of this surprise you? Any of it shock you? Any of you worried about any of this? Or you feeling comfortable? You feeling confident? We're a couple of days removed now. You feeling a little bit better about where this team is and the direction we're going? Let us know in the comment section down below. And while you're down there commenting away, don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell as well. That way you're here for all of the content, including Quest for the West tonight at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. You don't want to miss that.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to miss that because it's going to be an interesting conversation. Because Sam is going to be talking about the Seahawks, and the Seahawks are struggling a little bit at 1-2, and they got to come to San Francisco, a tough divisional, matchup. And then you've got, Evan that's going to be sitting high, sitting pretty because they just took care of the lowly Jaguars and improved to 3-0, but they're sitting right there in a good, comfortable spot at top of the NFC West. So it's going to be a fun conversation because everyone's kind of at a different point, and I'm curious what everyone has to say about it and, where their mindset is now. Do they feel like the 49ers got absolutely revealed their character, who they really are? I'm curious everyone's outtake on it.
Going to be a fun conversation. We're going to be grinding it out and talking it up and might even get spiked. Who knows? You'll just have to tune in. We'll see y'all for that one. Head on over to Patreon as well if you want all 22 film breakdown of this game. And for the first time, all 22 film preview of the 49ers versus Seahawks this weekend. You don't want to miss any of that. We'll see you over there on Patreon for those things. But Ant, this was good. Getting closer, getting better. Every day, the sting hurts a little bit less. And you know what? That's great because by the time we get to Sunday, I'm going to be ready and the 49ers are going to be ready to stick it to the Sea Chickens.
Yeah, I'm over the sting. As somebody that's lost football games and won football games, you turn to get over it pretty quick. You go through the film, that hurts. That's honesty. You have to look yourself in the mirror. And then once you get past it, you're ready to move on to the next game. And you realize that losses happen in football. That's just the way it works. That's the business. And you get over it and you get back on track. And I guarantee you that's what the 49ers have done. And that's what I've done. I'm already ready to look at the Seahawks, ready to move on and win a pivotal football game. I just wish I can contribute. All I can do is sit there and watch and enjoy. But I know these guys are going to be out there grinding.
They're out there grinding. We're out here grinding as well. We'll see you on the next one, Cutback Crew. And until then, stay safe.
Remember, the right way
is always the 49ers way.